from the Now Media Radio newsroom in Houston and simulcasting in real time to the world. This is Now Media News with Sherman On and Matey Bay Steris. Be ready. Be in the moment. Be in the now. Now Media News starts now.
Good evening, everybody. This is Sherman from Now Media News. You can see a live shot there of Discovery Green. What's happening there today?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. And today we're opening the news with a nonviolent protest from downtown Houston near City Hall, where protesters are gathering non-violently in memory of George Floyd, the black man who died in the hands of police custody. So let's take a look at the video and what's happening in downtown right now.
So it was an organized event mainly due to Trey the Truth, one of the Houston's rappers, and also Bun B, and also Mayor Sylvester Turner. So it wasn't necessarily one that was focused in as an organized City of Houston event, but they started at the Discovery Green. It was estimated that there's anywhere between 25 to 60,000 people that came together in a peaceful protest.
Yeah, that's right. A nonviolent march that started at 2:30. George Floyd's family with members of Black Lives Matter led the protest. And prior to that, we saw another Pacific marching or protest that took place in downtown Houston, where at least 50 people were on horses. Yeah, just like you see here, on horses from Urban Trail, the Urban Trail Riding Club. And that took place just prior to the march that we're seeing right now in City Hall.
And so as they made their march from Discovery Green down to City Hall, there was many people that decided to speak. They had a moment of silence. Many people kneeled, and then many lifted their arms in fists. You can see there in the footage there's the urban cowboys, if you will. That's definitely a Houston, Texas style, to be able to show that down and in a wonderful way to be able to have a peaceful protest as they looked, as you know, many people looked on and also went about wanting to make sure that their voice is being heard during this time of injustice.
And what a beautiful way to gather in a non-violent way, rather than just destroying things and burning things and burning property. I think that Houston is setting up a good example for everyone else to follow. Like we can see here, thousands of protesters are gathering in downtown, but not we're not seeing any violence as of now. So that's a beautiful way to reivindicate.
Yeah. So we definitely salutes off to all those that participated in a peaceful way. I know the Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo was also there, spoke to the crowd, and again, encouraging them to be able to allow their voice to be heard, encouraging others to be able to make sure that they are welcoming. And again, just a great work done by the activist group of Black Lives Matters and Trey the Truth, Houston rapper, and of course our mayor, Sylvester Turner.
Also earlier today, Texas Governor Greg Abbott had a press conference in Dallas City Hall, and he said that anybody from other states that came to Texas and wanted to protest in a violent way would be prosecuted federally. So he urged everyone to gather peacefully. He urged everyone to show what they think and to manifest, but not violently. So we're seeing this so far, and that's a beautiful way to express your point of view.
Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely something that is more positive versus some of the protests that were occurring on Friday night, and grateful for all those that decided to do it in a peaceful manner here in the city of Houston. Some other things on the news front, Maite, in regards to the funeral. As a lot of you are familiar with, George Floyd is a native Houstonian. He was born here, went to Yates High School, and so his funeral will actually be held here next week.
Yes, that's right. On Monday, it is Monday, June 8th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be a public viewing in Houston of George Floyd's body. And the actual funeral will take place, a private funeral will take place on Tuesday, the 9th, with the family, and it's going to be a private funeral. But we're going to see the body is going to be transported to Houston. That's his native town. That's where family members are, and that's what they wish, and that's where he's going to be buried. Also, somebody's
it's noted that
there is an interesting anecdote. Who's paying for the
Floyd Mayweather, the
right.
famous boxer, has actually publicly come out and said that he would be willing to pay for the funeral for the family and transporting George Floyd from Minneapolis down here to Houston, and of course then for the procession. And it's drawn the attention of many others as well.
It is. I mean, and I think it is a nice gesture from Floyd Mayweather, considering a little bit of his history of aggression that he had in the past. We know that he's an excellent boxer, and we like him like that. And it is a very nice gesture to pay for George Floyd's funeral. But also, he had some history behind of aggression. Anyways, we're glad that this is happening. Also, there are Joe Biden and Joe Biden family is expected to attend the funeral on Tuesday. Here in Houston, the family is going to fly, especially for the funeral. So,
it sounds like there'll be quite the celebrity and political kind of statements being said here by various elected officials as they come in. It will be interesting to see who ends up making the lists and ultimately who ultimately attends on between Monday the 8th, the viewing and the showing, and then of course the official private funeral there.
Right. Again, the public viewing will take place Monday, June the 8th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Fountain of Praise at 13950 Hillcrest Avenue, and the funeral will be on June 9th at 11 a.m. It's supposed to be private, so as of now, we can't go into a lot of details.
Yes, a beautiful image there shown there in the Third Ward where George Floyd actually grew up is a mural dedicated in his memory. Many people in cars as they drove by expressing of emotion and as they viewed that, just a beautiful tribute to George Floyd and what he ultimately represents.
And this movement, there was a movement today that spread out on social media, Blackout Tuesday, a day promoted by activists to observe, mourn, and bring about policy change in the wake of the death of George Floyd. So we saw a lot of posts on Twitter and on Instagram that were totally black and with the hashtag Black Lives Matter to honor and respect the memory of George Floyd.
So there was nothing wrong with your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed. It was people respecting that hashtag of Blackout Tuesday and kind of a silence on their Instagram or their social media posts, and being able to recognize what's happening here and definitely moving forward the Black Lives Matters. I know that some of those and the activists, Black Lives Matters, wanted you to just put the one hashtag of Blackout Tuesday, so that way it could be seen as just a blank screen. And then in a sense not going to do any posts for 24 hours, and then encourage people to recognize various donations or opportunities that they could give and give willingly and freely to those organizations who are in promotion of equality and also diversity.
Yeah, and also, a lot of the activists, artists, and people that are a part of this, they want to see a change. They don't want any more injustice. They don't want violence, and this has been happening for a long time, and it seems that we always come across incidents like that should not happen. So people are tired, and they just want change, basically.
And not only that, we've heard many words from a multitude of CEOs, leaders of business, one of the more famous ones, and Franklin Templeton's CEO came out, and they recently fired someone who was caught in video. In New York City, where she was actually expressing a little bit of racism. You can see in the footage, the Discovery Green as it was gathering this afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, downtown. People were gathering there first before they the part of the march to City Hall. And so again, appreciate that footage that's been provided. And so I know that the former presidents, President Obama, former President George W. Bush, also had some words to say about what was occurring.
And we're going to take a quick break, and then we are coming back with a guest and an interview. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
The right tax team is key to any successful business. At America's Tax Firm, our goal is to help individuals and businesses of all sizes with accounting solutions and tax strategies that yield profitability, sustainability, and growth. At America's Tax Firm, we have a team of experienced tax consultants and advisors that can help your company optimize business strategies to minimize taxes and reduce liabilities. From preparing and filing your personal or business taxes, or choosing the right legal structure for your business, to resolving complex tax issues with the IRS, America's Tax Firm is your turnkey solution. Take a strong and decisive step and let America's Tax Firm be part of your success.
Hi, this is Scarlett Horton. You may remember me from the morning news. We know that finding the right team for your painting project can be overwhelming, and if not done right, a painting project can easily go over your budget. At CertaPro Painters of Central Houston, our professionals will ensure your residential or commercial painting projects run smoothly and are convenient for your schedule, leaving you time for what matters most. CertaPro of Central Houston has been serving the Houston metro area for more than a decade and has a solid reputation. You can read reviews from our clients and see examples of our work on our social media pages, letters of recommendation, website, and Google reviews. Additionally, at CertaPro Painters of Central Houston, we warranty our work for 2 years. We offer free color consultation. We do residential and commercial jobs, interior and exterior, and we are licensed and insured. Not to mention, we are experts in painting cabinets. CertaPro is the largest painting contractor in the USA. Our crews are not only qualified and skilled painters, they are the best at what they do, and we are always on time. Let our experts at CertaPro of Central Houston transform your home and business. Our proven process gives you more time to enjoy moments that matter in the spaces you love. Alfredo, Mallory, and John are experienced professionals who will work with you every step of the way to ensure a flawless finish. Call us today at 713-824-5166 and let CertaPro of Central Houston handle with ease, efficiency, and high professionalism your next residential and commercial painting project. Because the world needs color.
Welcome back, everybody. Sherman here from Now Media News. Excited to have Brian on the show. Brian, introduce yourself to the audience who might not know who you are.
Yeah, thanks, Sherman. A pleasure to be here. So my name is Brian Ginger, and I run an IT consulting business here in Houston called Noxerve. We do cybersecurity consulting for businesses.
And I know that a lot of businesses right now, as they're looking at returning, right, the reopening of their business, some are going to be working at a corporate office under, security there, but then a good chunk is going to be working from home. And what is that? How does that play a role in some of the concerns of security during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the attack surface is greater for any business that wasn't already operating from home, or they've got maybe a hybrid solution, or maybe they're never planning on returning to go back to the office. So we're seeing that too. They're now adjusting to these new circumstances, and it opens it up, unfortunately, for the threat of cyber attack. A huge spike in April. I think there was a study, the 37% spike in cybersecurity attacks for one report. And we saw it in our own business. So 2 of our clients set up a VPN, which is a virtual private network, a way to connect back remotely to a network from home. And they set it up improperly, exposing their network to the internet, to anybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so in a sense that they thought that they were creating this private network through VPN, it actually did the exact opposite.
Yeah, and in one case, it was really unfortunate circumstances, and we've spent months unwinding some of the damage that was done as a result of that. So I guess the story is, or the important thing to take away from that is, make sure that, you know, in this new world that you're working with professionals and understanding how to set these things up, because majority of cybersecurity incidents are a result of human error.
Oh, so they could have set it up properly from the beginning.
Correct.
And so as a company looks at this, Brian, what's the advice that you're giving them now that they're no longer going to, let's say they're going to have much more of a larger presence working from home? What can companies be doing to protect themselves?
Sure. The biggest thing that we're trying to address right now is passwords and what we call multi-factor authentication. You're probably familiar with it. Maybe you don't know it by name, but that's when you go to log into something and then they send you a text or they send you an email confirming another step to verify that it's you. Making sure that those are in place and that strong passwords are in place is just an important step that every business should take. And we've got some great tools that are a little bit challenging to roll out in the beginning, but once you get over that initial hump and you get everybody on board, it actually makes life easier and much safer.
So in other words, me having to require to change my password every 60 days is a good thing.
Actually, here's the thing. So that is actually annoying, right? Most people find that disruptive. All their passwords get out of sync and they're on different things. So one of the tools that we have, it creates long passwords. It's all randomized character, uppercase, lowercase, number, and it all goes into what we call a vault, a secure vault. And then you password protect that with a very long passphrase is what we recommend, something you can remember. So maybe it's the verse of your favorite song or something that only you would know. And then that's ultra safe, and then it contains this encrypted vault that only you have access to. And then you can also share it with people and restrict their access. So it's great for companies, like say you're firing somebody, or unfortunately, we're in that world where people are having to let people go. You can cut off their access instantly, change all their passwords, and keep them out of your organization. So there's other benefits in offboarding scenario as well.
So it's definitely a major concern for a lot of businesses out there that when you are letting go of individuals, and again, it's meant to be in the nicest of ways, but business unfortunately has some different circumstances. Revenues are down. That's a reality. And so dealing with that disgruntled employee, this is a much smooth way and a safer way to protect the overall business.
It benefits onboarding too. Maybe we'll look at it a little bit more optimistically. But the other 2 things I want to hit on that's really important, we hit it on the beginning, that the user error is one of the major challenges that we face as far as breaches, and so end user training. So we have some programs. There's a technology or a company called InfoSec that's really great at this. Makes it easy, makes it almost like a video game type content. So you stay engaged, you actually learn the content. And then if you say you click on something you're not supposed to in a training exercise, then that we reteach you to make sure that behavior is reinforced. So that's one to help protect the case of user error, which is the majority of the things that go wrong in the business. And then just the last one of creating that culture of cybersecurity. It's a pure cost, like you said. People don't have the budgets that they had because of the impact of COVID and what that's done to business here in America and across the globe. But the idea that we're starting to see some industries, financial in New York is a great example. They won't do business with you unless you have a cybersecurity program in place. right? So that's something that you'd want to invest in, which if you do that properly, it now becomes a competitive advantage, doesn't it? So you can include that in your sales and marketing materials to say, hey, look, we take this seriously, and it puts you in a smaller pond against your competitors. So
Absolutely.
True, it's a cost, but you can also flip that and make that as a competitive advantage.
Well, definitely, I think privacy is a major concern, right? As you mentioned, a spike of cyber crime. Is there also phishing? Right, we still have that issue on emails. Is that something else that is part of kind of the educational piece?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
That's a major component of it, right? So helping educate people on what to click on, what not to click on, and reinforcing that. And here's the cool part too: it benefits them in their personal lives as well. Right. So,
and then I know that sometimes I've heard people in this sector, right, of cybersecurity, they'll say that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so if let's say we find a small business, right, 20 employees, and one of the employees has hit on the fish, right? They hit that email. What can they do at this particular stage to kind of undo what accidentally got done?
Sure. So the first and foremost, is to have that culture that says that person will then go forward with it. Some people feel like, oh gosh, I hit that, nothing happened immediately, so then I'll just push that under the covers. I won't get in any trouble, and then nothing will happen. Well, what's happened is they've detonated some malware. They then go east to west. They get onto they compromise some credentials. They get onto a server. They lock up your accounting system and request that you pay them a ransom in Bitcoin. Now, does that sound kind of spooky and scary and like it happens so much, Sherman? And the unfortunate part is nobody, when it happens to them, just like that employee didn't want to get in trouble, the company doesn't want to lose that reputation in the market.
Yes.
And then they'll come to a company like us. They say, you guys specialize in cybersecurity. Can you unwind this encrypted drive? And the answer is we probably can, but the amount of time and the amount of talent that it's going to take, you might as well just pay this $5,000 ransom that they're asking for.
Oh, really? Okay.
Never gets reported. Usually they'll inform the FBI, but it's not even a requirement in the state of Texas. 250 users or below, if are impacted or records are, that's doesn't need to be reported. And that's new as of January. So there's still a lot of regulation and government regulation that needs to get caught up to make sure that we're getting the word out and that companies have to come forward. Because if my data is breached, I want to know, because it might mean I need to take action.
Yeah.
And so it's a big hush. Unfortunately, it happens to a lot of businesses more than I'd like to admit. And that's NoxServe. What we're trying to do is put an end to cybercrime in the United States. It's impacting United States businesses, and most of it is outside of our country. This is money that is leaving our country. So we're doing our part to try to prevent that.
Yeah. Now, I know that a lot of people now, we have children working from home. We have parents working from home. And so is the personal computer just as secure as my work laptop in the way that it's functioning?
That's another great question. So if they are using their own personal computers, then obviously you're giving up some security controls. So one of the things that we'll do as a consultant is we'll go in. Not only do we install the antivirus software that you're familiar with, we talked about the password tools that we put on there. The next thing that we do is we harden what we call harden that system. And so the best example is your web browser, whether it's Chrome or it's Microsoft Edge, that'll save passwords, that'll save credit card information, right? So we'll disable that and we'll make sure that we have a company-controlled password vault, like I was talking about earlier. So that's one example of many that we're going to do on your work computers. We'll also make sure that if that becomes compromised or stolen, that we can wipe it. All those controls. If you're not practicing that and you're not enabling your employees to take home devices or set up their own workstation at home, then yes, you are putting yourself at greater risk, especially, like you said, because kids can gain access to it and maybe do something that they don't have the education that you're doing. So, I mean, it's an investment of not just time and money, but also it's creating that education and that culture. Yeah.
So it sounds like the prevention here, it far outweighs the cost of it going down the wrong way. getting something locked out, the basically the Bitcoin that they're going to require a company to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the worst part is that small businesses are the biggest targets because they don't put the controls in place. There's so many that are just behind on these things because it's confusing, it's complicated, and we make it scary. So here's what's kind of fun, Sherman. You're going to like this. So as for fun, I do stand-up comedy. I'm working with a few comedian friends of mine to put together a series of videos that educate small businesses in a humorous way about the risks to their business, and then give them some ideas on how they can mitigate against that.
That's really, I think, really powerful because as a small business, you're looking at ways to cut costs, and that's a major concern, especially given the environment that we're in. And so, as they hear, I'm sure, about like implementing these securities, the dollar signs, right, just start trickling down in their minds, and it becomes something that they almost then don't move forward with because they don't know a cost.
That's right. Yeah, and so it's usually sold as this dark kid in a hoodie somewhere, and it's all dark. We're going to bring it to light and just make them feel empowered that they understand what the risks are, and that's what we do when we meet with our clients. We go down through the risks, and they then at that point can accept the risk, and we help them understand the cost and the time and the investment in human capital and how much we're going to ask of their people to get on board with this, and let them make those decisions. But a lot of people just they put their guard up at the beginning, and what we're seeing is people don't come to us until something's already happened. And so we're trying to flip that. And again, it's all in the interest of keeping money here in our country and empowering small businesses to protect themselves.
So then if I decide to go out, I buy the new laptop because I'm working from home, I get the Norton, again, and then name the company, right? Sure. Automatically. Am I secure then?
Right. So another thing that we try to educate our customers on is trying to have centralized management everywhere that they can. So if you buy the laptop and you go down to Best Buy, there should already be in place a policy and procedure that says even asset management is a cybersecurity concern. So that's acquiring assets, that's disposing of assets. And so if your company is working with us, we would make sure that that's out of compliance, that you're not following the guidelines of procuring new hardware. There's a reason it has to go back to corporate. We harden the web browser. We put on the antivirus. We put on the password locker. That all needs to be done at corporate, or you're really exposing yourself to risk.
Gotcha. So there are a few steps to take when you're getting that new laptop and making sure that it's up to the right caliber of security.
Yep. And we do all the upfront consulting. So we educate them on what the risks are. Again, we talk about the investment of time. Then we can implement those solutions. And then from there, we would actually turn over to another company. There's some trusted providers here in the United States, here in Texas, that will provide ongoing cybersecurity if that's a requirement. But our goal is to take small businesses and empower them to do this on their own. And once they understand how these tools work and how simple they are to deploy and manage, for the most part, we believe that they can handle this on their own. Once you get to a certain scale, it's just impossible. And one of the biggest challenges of them all is the cost of cybersecurity professionals right now is through the roof. There's just a vacuum. There's not enough of them, in the market right now. And there's like HBU is a great example. Houston Baptist here in Houston, they've got a great program, but it's still new. It just started, and these kids are graduating. However, they've got no real world experience, no business experience.
Okay.
And so we've got a ways to go to catch up on having the available resources to protect ourselves. And so that's where companies like us and others out there that are on the front lines as consultants are critical.
So, small business listening to this, how do they do this? Do they Google search cybersecurity? I can only imagine it leads to too many paid ads on the Google search. And
sure.
What's the best way to find someone that they can trust and move forward with?
Like I said, I really hope that this series of videos that we're putting out, I mean, certainly, yes, it's got marketing, as its purpose as far as we're concerned, but we just want to educate, and then we hope that we can offer our solutions as something that they would consider. There's a lot of great resources out there. The SANS Institute, SANS.org, is great for small businesses. I was talking about policies and procedures. They've got something for everything out there. So I do recommend that you don't try to recreate one on your own, but I also don't recommend don't go Google, pick up the first one you see and add it to your employee handbook. You really want to understand what you're putting out there, and SANS.org does a great job for instance, they have one for pandemic response already up. So that's how current that it is. And so you can go through and set up all of your policies based on that.
So it sounds like definitely it's not a one size fits all when it comes to cybersecurity. It sounds like it's much more of an in-depth conversation to you make sure you're utilizing the right amount of security for your business.
Yeah, there's a lot of great what we call standards or best practices out there. There's one from NIST, NIST.gov, I believe, is just this is how you should set things up, and that's actually usually what we use as a benchmark to say we'll come in and do an assessment. Here's what best practices and standards are. Here's where you are, and usually there's a pretty big gap, right? But another thing to be mindful of is government regulation. So we talked about it earlier. If you want to do any business with the financial institutions in New York, there's now privacy laws that you're in banking. You're probably aware. California GDPR, which is in Europe. Anybody in the EU or any EU citizen that's doing business with you, you have to respect the privacy laws, and there's real fines attached to that.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see this big wave. And then, of course, you go into retail. There's PCI compliance, so payment credit card industry for collecting credit card payments. That's not a government, so to speak, but that's an industry standard that you have to adhere to, or they won't let you process credit cards anymore. Okay. So that's a big deal. HIPAA is another one, healthcare. So my point with all that is you have to be mindful within your industry what the regulations are, and stay current on that, because there's going to be more and more to protect businesses.
And so it sounds like really at NoxServe, you guys are focused on educating to the point that if it's doable that they can manage it on their own, they can. Or hey, there's other relationships that they could have, and having more of an ongoing relationship with their IT and security.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a great point. I love how you separated them, because a lot of people say, hey, we're just going to give this to the IT guy. The problem with that is the IT guy has all the privileged credentials, so he has if they compromise his credentials, they can access everything, right? So and that's also kind of the police and the police. Very timely reference right now, but I mean, that you need to really have somebody watching that. You need to have a good balance of power on that to make sure that the IT guy is following procedures, and that's a separate person. That's somebody dedicated to security, or a company dedicated to security.
So are you finding, because of COVID-19, is there more of a relevance and more of a conversation with what's happening right now in your business? Yeah,
and you right off the top, you talked about it. More people working from home and the risk that presents. Whether it's the devices, whether that's the unsecure network. Just your business that was once contained is now dispersed, and so that just, like I said, increases the surface area of attack, a potential attack.
Gotcha. Well, Brian, really appreciate you coming on the news and here and sharing with us what small businesses can be doing. What's a good way for them to be able to reach out and find and kind of maybe have a nice consultative conversation with you if they're looking at ways to be able to make themselves more secure? Yeah,
from cybersecurity perspective, NoxServe.com. So our business is NOCSERV.com. You can get a hold of us there. Give us a call. Shoot me an email. I handle a lot of the upfront relationships. So love to educate people. That's the part I enjoy the most.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the news. We're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with more of COVID-19.
Bacteria and viruses like COVID-19, as well as indoor toxins, are a serious and sometimes deadly risk for your children, your loved ones, and your employees. EarthBlue Systems is the solution that ensures a seamless sanitization and odor elimination process by using ozone, nature's powerful and safe oxidizer. As a matter of fact, there are no known bacteria or viruses which are resistant to ozone and its oxidizing effects. Ozone is one of the most powerful disinfectants available, eliminating the need for harsh chemicals or detergents. Ozone gas from EarthBlue's process leaves absolutely no residue. Clothing, bedding, and linens will be sanitized and smelling fresh and clean, but most importantly, sanitized. Food is not harmed. In fact, ozone is approved by the FDA as a food additive preservative and is commonly used for water purification. EarthBlue Systems technology is a less costly alternative to other methods of solving mold and air quality issues. Take a strong and decisive step to keep your family and company odorless and safe. Contact EarthBlue Systems at 713-419-7506.
In this digital age, conventional business cards are a thing of the past. In fact, most people lose them in minutes of having received them. The Now Media Video Business Card is recorded with cutting-edge technology designed to be sent out quickly and easily using your smartphone. It features your contact information, summary of all your company's products and services, as well as giving you a fresh and innovative look. Hundreds of companies are already seeing the difference. Call us at 832-384-9588.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, retired NASA astronaut, entrepreneur, and proud son of migrant farm workers. Our migrant families do very important work. Many follow the harvest and move frequently throughout the U.S. and thus have many needs. One way to improve your family's future is by participating in the 2020 census. The census only occurs every 10 years, but it affects public funding for clinics, schools, and other essential programs for our communities. Each person must be counted at the address where they live the most during the year. However, if you move frequently, don't worry. Simply fill out your questionnaire where you are living on April 1st, 2020. The information you provide is confidential and is not shared with other government organizations. The future of our families depends on you. So make yourself count before July 31st. For more information, visit the website 2020census.gov.
The right tax team is key to any successful business. At America's Tax Firm, our goal is to help individuals and businesses of all sizes with accounting solutions and tax strategies that yield profitability, sustainability, and growth. At America's Tax Firm, we have a team of experienced tax consultants and advisors that can help your company optimize business strategies to minimize taxes and reduce liabilities. From preparing and filing your personal or business taxes, or choosing the right legal structure for your business, to resolving complex tax issues with the IRS, America's Tax Firm is your turnkey solution. Take a strong and decisive step and let America's Tax Firm be part of your success.
Welcome back to Now Media News. This is Sherman.
Yes, and we're going back to the protests. Protests are winding down in downtown Houston. Luckily, the protests were peaceful. We didn't see any fires, any fighting, any burning, nothing. So I think that Houston is setting up a great example for other cities to follow, in the sense that this should be a gathering respecting the memory of George Floyd, and not fighting amongst each other and burning things and destroying property. Also, the family of George Floyd explicitly said that they wanted this to be a nonviolent or a peaceful protest or gathering.
Yeah, and that really juxtaposes to what's been happening in New York City. The recent governor, Cuomo, had mentioned that the major concern that he has is the protests have not been peaceful, and so unfortunately, because of that, what's occurring right now is setting up of curfew. This is unprecedented in New York City. As you know, due to COVID-19, they already had stay-at-home orders, and they're starting to ease and reopen. But in New York City right now, there's a curfew in place, and it's going to exist until the end of the week due to some of the violent protesting that has occurred the last few days.
Right. As a matter of fact, more than 17,000 members of the National Guard were standing ready to support local law enforcement due to the violence that's been taking place in other cities of the U.S. And also, 45,000 National Guard members are supporting the COVID-19 response across the U.S. A part of this is what's going on with George Floyd. We have also, what's the COVID-19 and what's left of what continues to affect us as for COVID-19.
And
how-
unfortunately, the National Guard is being utilized and responded upon and activated due to some of the COVID-19 cities and helping people stay in order at the stay-at-home orders, but then also because of some of the protests becoming more like riots and mobbing and looting, a major concern.
Right.
As we look at shifting, one of we want to move to politics. We have President Joe Biden and also President Trump, or former Vice President Biden, in presidential primary right now throughout several states and Washington, D.C. Or some of the other states, might they?
Yes, that's right. Today is presidential primaries in D.C., Indiana, Maryland, Montana, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and South Dakota. We could see President Joe Biden, Democratic nominee, officially, he's one of the members that now is, looked at with a magnifying glass because of everything that's been happening. And he wants to get ahead. He wants to win the nomination. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, he still needs 89% of the Democratic Party to support him in his bid for running for the main winner of the Democratic Party. However, no one else is actually in the running due to what's occurred and also the primaries where we are at this particular venture. So it is understood or kind of believed that he is the hopeful for the Democratic Party. The next step for him is to look for a running mate. I'm sure that as he looks for that running mate for vice president, he'll be looking at someone that has maybe some experience in some of this equality, the racial divide that's occurred here in the United States. So it's going to be quite interesting to see who that running mate will be for him.
Yeah, and now that you bring this racial divide that's so important right now, and everybody is, taking a close look at. One of the most closely watched races on Tuesday are down ballot contests, especially in Iowa, where controversial GOP rep Steve King, whose long history of racism remarks might have finally put a grip on the seat. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so more to come from politics. One of the main things is as we look at what does the voting look like as we still have COVID-19 happening. I know the governor of North Carolina had said today that he anticipates the Republican National Convention to be much smaller. That's what he would like. Of course, President Trump would like it to be large and talked about moving it from the state of North Carolina, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Mm-hmm. And so it'll be interesting to see what this will look like. Will the polls be safe to come out to vote? Will there be social distancing at that point? We're needing to wait in line 6 feet away from people. Will masks still be required to be worn as you go out to the public? So what was going to transpire this upcoming November is going to be quite interesting as we have COVID-19 in the background of all this.
Yeah, that's right. It's all going to depend on whether there's going to be a second wave of COVID-19 or not, whether there are going to be more cases, or if not, November is still a couple months down the road and things can change. So, well, hopefully, we'll be able to vote in person and not send in the ballots by mail. So, yeah.
And so it'll be interesting as we have a lot of the protesting happening, might they, throughout some of these major cities. That is a concern that scientists are talking about is with a lack of social distancing in these protest groups, and also many of them not wearing masks. Are we going to see a spike in some of these major cities when it comes to COVID-19? And so even though it's not hitting the major headlines, it still is a major issue that we do not have a vaccine. It's not completely eradicated, and there is a potential concern of a second wave. And so with all these massive groups of people coming together throughout major metropolitan areas throughout the United States, are we going to see something? So as we know, COVID-19 takes and incubates and doesn't become positive for 5 to 7 days. And so are we going to see a spike next week or the following due to some of these protests?
Well, it could happen because we've seen a lot of protesters all over the nation protesting without masks. being very close to each other for several days. So this may be a cause for COVID-19 to spread. We don't know for sure, but it could. So that's a risk that these protesters or rioters are taking. After all the sacrifice that we've made in the past month or two, staying at home and quarantining and being good, then suddenly this happens, and hopefully this won't lead to a second wave of COVID-19.
Yeah. So no governors have completely come out and said that they've completely reopened their states, nor have any businesses completely reopened. Those essential businesses are still working and operating at full capacity. And so it'll be part of our reopening for business, at least here in the state of Texas, particularly in Harris County. We're still being encouraged to stay at home if we can. Only going out for those essential things. If we are going out in public, making sure that we wear a mask, making sure that we are practicing social distancing and staying safe. As you continue to go to retailers, you're still having to stay 6 feet away from someone as you go out to the checkout lines. And so that's something that's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, and it seems like COVID-19 is going to stay with us for a while. It's not going to go away just like that anytime soon, because it's something that we have to have in the back of our heads. It's going to be there. What if I get infected? What if? So we're always going to have to be careful. Now, what's going to happen to restaurants? What's going to happen to gyms? What's going to happen to workplaces? I mean, the work environment has already shifted from going to the offices. Some people do go to the offices, but we see more and more businesses working from home due to the advances in technology, and because there's been a massive shift on how people is doing business right now. So
we're going to take a quick commercial break, folks, and we'll come out with more of the news.
Bacteria and viruses like COVID-19, as well as indoor toxins, are a serious and sometimes deadly risk for your children, your loved ones, and your employees. Earth Blue Systems is the solution that ensures a seamless sanitization and odor elimination process by using ozone, nature's powerful and safe oxidizer. As a matter of fact, there are no known bacteria or viruses which are resistant to ozone and its oxidizing effects. Ozone is one of the most powerful disinfectants available, eliminating the need for harsh chemicals or detergents. Ozone gas from Earth Blue's process leaves absolutely no residue. Clothing, bedding, and linens will be sanitized and smelling fresh and clean, but most importantly, sanitized. Food is not harmed. In fact, ozone is approved by the FDA as a food additive preservative and is commonly used for water purification. Earth Blue Systems technology is a less costly alternative to other methods of solving mold and air quality issues. Take a strong and decisive step to keep your family and company odorless and safe. Contact Earth Blue Systems at 713-419-7506.
In this digital age, conventional business cards are a thing of the past. In fact, most people lose them in minutes of having received them. The Now Media Video Business Card is recorded with cutting-edge technology designed to be sent out quickly and easily using your smartphone. It features your contact information, summary of all your company's products and services, as well as giving you a fresh and innovative look. Hundreds of companies are already seeing the difference. Call us at 832-384-9588.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, retired NASA astronaut, entrepreneur, and proud son of migrant farm workers. Our migrant families do very important work. Many follow the harvest and move frequently throughout the U.S. and thus have many needs. One way to improve your family's future is by participating in the 2020 census. The census only occurs every 10 years, but it affects public funding for clinics, schools, and other essential programs for our communities. Each person must be counted at the address where they live the most during the year. However, if you move frequently, don't worry. Simply fill out your questionnaire where you are living on April 1st, 2020. The information you provide is confidential and is not shared with other government organizations. The future of our families depends on you. So make yourself count before July 31st. For more information, visit the website 2020census.gov.
Sherman, and as we look at hitting hurricane season, we have some tropical storms starting to form in the Gulf of Mexico. The NOAA has already said in a report that they anticipate a 60% increase on hurricanes this year, which would not add well to the overall pandemic and the slowdown in the economy. So as we look at that, you can see in the map that it is right down there in the southern part there of Mexico, there in that little central part. And don't know, it's still in the formulating stages, so we don't know what trajectory it is. There's no classification of it yet, as we continually watch that closely, obviously.
And on a different note, going back to this, what's been going on in social media in the last couple of days, employees of Facebook that were protesting, or they wanted to do a protest, virtual protest online because they thought, that Mark Zuckerberg was not very vocal, or had not said something about Trump's remarks. Mark Zuckerberg finally spoke, and he said that everyone should express anything that they want to say in Facebook, as long as it doesn't harm any other human being or ignites violence. So I guess that's good. Protecting the First Amendment and the freedom of speech, of course.
Yeah, there's a delicate balance here, right? As the president signed the executive order to repeal Section 230 that talked about how social media sites like Facebook and Twitter can hide behind the user and not being held liable for what the user is saying under the guise of freedom of speech. And so as many politicians have felt like that was a needed repeal on that Section 230, because these companies can't hide behind the First Amendment. They need to be able to have some kind of way to be able to police what's being put out there, whether that's in regards to fake news or, as you mentioned, things that are going to incite violence or illegal behavior. And so just a lot of the employees at Facebook just felt like Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, didn't come out in a very forceful way in really coming down on what the president had kind of said. And so they had a virtual walkout, if you will. Yeah. And basically, as you know, a lot of Facebook employees are working from home, so they just stopped working. And so
for them, it was actually like a work at home / virtual walkout.
Yeah, staying at home. So I guess they just logged off. Is what happened. Mark Zuckerberg was one of the first ones to say that he anticipates that about half of his workforce will probably end up working from home until 2030. So it'll be interesting to see as major companies like Facebook and the like have a stance on working from home and what that looks like. And so obviously, if they're going to be protesting and not working, this creates quite the problem.
Right. And another protest is anticipated to take place after next week, after the funeral of George Floyd, that will take place on Tuesday, the 9th, in Houston, Texas, on the Fountain of Praise in 13950 Hillcrest Avenue. So after that, this is going to be a private funeral. Prior to that, the day before, there's going to be a public viewing of George Floyd, also in Houston. And on Tuesday, another protest is expected to take place, and we hope that will be nonviolent. And
I definitely anticipate that to be another peaceful protest based on what Houston had showcased today with their march from Discovery Green to the City Hall, and anticipate there after the funeral there to be a lot of individuals. Obviously, the former Vice President, Democratic hopeful Joe Biden will be there in supporting of the family of George Floyd, and so I think there'll be a lot of political individuals, a lot of people from kind of main news that will showcase, and so it'll be quite the event.
We can see a shot of where the funeral is going to take place next week. So we'll be covering that next week. Now Media News will be there. So we'll be looking forward to covering that. Also, on a different note, then I think that we have some sports news that are coming up.
Yes, let's take a quick commercial break and come back with more on sports.
The right tax team is key to any successful business. At America's Tax Firm, our goal is to help individuals and businesses of all sizes with accounting solutions and tax strategies that yield profitability, sustainability, and growth. At America's Tax Firm, we have a team of experienced tax consultants and advisors that can help your company optimize business strategies to minimize taxes and reduce liabilities. From preparing and filing your personal or business taxes, or choosing the right legal structure for your business, to resolving complex tax issues with the IRS, America's Tax Firm is your turnkey solution. Take a strong and decisive step and let America's Tax Firm be part of your success.
Welcome back to Now Media News. This is Sherman. So, Maite, what's interesting is people are craving to start sports. And so Notre Dame is facing off to Navy. And typically they do it in Annapolis, Maryland.
Right.
And they're actually going to do it in Ireland. So this will be a historic college opener to be able to avoid kind of what's going on here in the United States. From a COVID-19 perspective, though, they're planning on having that
and travel somewhere else.
Yeah, amazing, right? Also in sports, we have very interesting is that the Boston Marathon is canceling, first time in its historic race history due to COVID-19. So this continues to play a major role in how things are being affected throughout our country.
Yes, that's some news. But we hope that by the end of the fall, that some of the sports and some of the major leagues will resume, hopefully.
Absolutely.
On a different note, we also wanted to announce that Now Media News has partnered with El Heraldo from Mexico City, and we will be broadcasting from Mexico Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So be sure to tune in and listen to the most relevant news coming from Mexico. Again, the newscast is going to be in Spanish. So all of you from the Hispanic community that would like to know what's going on in Mexico, just please tune in again from Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. El Heraldo from Mexico and Now Media News.
Yep, and so that'll be coming at 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning from Monday to Friday. Looking forward to that, folks. This is the news here from Houston. Maite and Sherman, be safe out there. Have a great day.
Did I say 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
Oh.